Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank the committee for having this hearing. I want to thank Secretary McDonough for being here.
Thank you, Doc.
And Secretary McDonough, let me just say that I don't consider this to be a partisan or political process. I am of the age where I experienced sexual harassment as a clerk
I'm
in
sorry
the
about
military, as a nurse in the military, as a physician. I went to medical school when there were less than 20% of women in medical school classes.
We're lucky you did.
And even to this day, when I interview people for jobs in my office, I don't ask their age, their marital status, whether or not they have children, because of all of the training I've received, and the lines are so tenuous on what's acceptable and what is unacceptable. And so, do you know the role and the mission of ORMDI?
I do.
Can you tell me what it is?
It's to protect the agency employees and veterans from all forms of harassment.
Correct. And does the VA have a zero tolerance policy for harassment?
It does.
And let me specifically read to you at va.gov, ORMD, sexual harassment. Another form of harassment prohibited by harassment prevention policy for federal agencies. Conduct of a sexual nature includes physical conduct, visual behavior seen, leering, ogling, gestures, expressions, objects, images, videos, intentional body exposure, behavior heard or read, catcalls, whistles, hey baby, jokes, teasing, flirtations, name-calling, pressure for sex, sex favors, emails, text messages, graphics, notes, internet content. Have what you've seen here today, have they fallen under that category?
Certainly, activity outlined in the OAWP report does not, falls within that category, one. And two, you know, it was in my submitted testimony, but I left it out for purposes of time. I think that some of this behavior suggests a real culture issue in ORMDI.
Yes, culture starts at the top.
Correct.
And you have a top that is rotten. And that's very explicit in the emails, in the text messages, in the whistleblower testimony. Do you believe in the pledge that you took, the white ribbon pledge, to combat sexual harassment at the... Then can you please explain to me how, once you're aware of this, from Ms. Grosso, thanks, Gina, I appreciate your quick response. How about you choose the last day that works best for you, and let's work on an announcement for you next week, where she says to you, I'm very sorry I did not perform up to the appropriate standard. What the hell standard was she applying to? A CEO of a company would have to be resigned for having consensual relations with an employee of either sex. I find it that this is an office that is to prevent and address sexual harassment, to train individuals in sexual harassment. How is the rest of the organization supposed to respond when those that are in that office can't even bother to address an employee's concerns? So that employee comes to us, a Committee on Veterans Affairs, to complain about their organization. And the response is, we'll make sure that we have the right message that goes across so we don't damn your reputation, and make sure you have a soft fall. You know, the American people are so upset and angry that no one in the federal government is held accountable. I'm held accountable every single 2 years. Every 2 years, I am held accountable. My name is on the ballot. You're hiring a person to take over this position who is a long-term VA employee. I will tell you, I could care less if they're a long-term VA employee. What I want is someone who can recognize that there may be sexual harassment and does a proper investigation. And if Ms. Grosso didn't know how to do a proper investigation as per her emails, then she darn sure has counsel available to her to do that. I find the conduct of this office deplorable. It is not heartening. It is not encouraging to all of the employees who work in the VA system, who work their tails off to help our veterans, of which I'm a fellow veteran. This should be taken seriously. It should not be thought of as political, and the VA should address this matter immediately, and all of those people apologize, not be given jobs and elsewhere. There should be appropriate discipline. As I said, if I were in the private sector As my job as a physician or a nurse, I would not be allowed to conduct myself in this manner. There would be repercussions and there would be consequences. With that, I yield.
Dr. Miller-Meeks, I very much appreciate the comments and the question. I just want to underscore that my decision to relieve Assistant Secretary Grosso presaged, predated my understanding about what was happening in RMDI. And in my career, I've relieved many leaders. I've never thought it was useful to embarrass those leaders, let alone somebody who served the country like you as honorably as Gina Grosso did. So I just wanted to respond directly to your question.